The definition of good writing. The first question on the final, oh yeah, there is a final, is what is the definition of good writing? Now, before we get to that, don't worry about the final. We're going to go over every question, every answer, many times over the course of this semester. These are concepts I want you to consider and incorporate into your writing, so there's not going to be any surprises. But again, the question is, how do we know what good writing is? This can be a little bit difficult to locate. Consider the following passage from chapter 36 of Moby Dick. Hark ye yet again, the little lower layer. All visible objects, man, are but as pasteboard masks. But in each event, in the living act, the undoubted deed, there some unknown but still reasoning thing puts forth the moldings of its features from behind the unreasoning mask. If man will strike through the mask, how can the prisoner reach outside except by thrusting through the wall? To me, the white whale is that wall, shoved near me. Sometimes I think there's naught beyond. But 'tis enough. He tasks me, he heaps me. I see in him outrageous strength, with an inscrutable malice, sinnowing it. That inscrutable thing is chiefly what I hate. And be the white whale agent, or be the white whale principal, I will wreak that hate upon him. Talk not to me of blasphemy. Man, I'd strike the sun if it insulted me. For could the sun do that, then I could do the other. Since there is ever a sort of fair play herein, jealousy presiding over all creations. Now, Moby Dick is good writing. It's considered an American masterpiece. D.H. Lawrence called it one of the strangest, most wonderful books in the world. It is widely studied and still read by many people for pleasure. For all intents and purposes, Herman Melville's novel is considered good writing. But Moby Dick is bad writing. The critics who read Moby Dick when it was released in the middle of the 19th century collectively hated it. Readers of his time didn't like it. They didn't read it. Sales were terrible. When Melville died, he believed that he was a failure as a writer. Some modern-day readers find the text confusing and difficult to read. How is it possible they didn't recognize it as good writing? Again, what makes a piece of writing good? The answer to the question is actually very simple. The definition of good writing. Good writing successfully meets the expectations of the reader. Well, of course. The readers of Moby Dick want to read an adventure dealing with the sea. They want lots of description, interesting characters. They want thoughtful prose that evokes images and draws out emotions. So what is good writing when it comes to a cookbook? Interesting recipes with delectable dishes, easy to follow recipes that result in great food that introduces the reader to explore new techniques, different combinations of ingredients, making people better cooks. It's what the readers expect. What is good writing when it comes to poetry? Is it rhyme scheme? Beautiful words constructed in a way that draws out readers' feelings, creates vivid imagery, giving readers fresh perspective or experiences? Is it wordplay? Innovative use of language? It's all of these things. You have to give the readers what they want. So the big question for this class is, what is good writing when it comes to academics? See, that is a big question. Look at that. That is 88-point font. Now, you don't normally see 88-point font, but that is a big question. All right. Who is the reader when it comes to academic papers? Some would say it's the instructor in the class, but it's more in this. The audience of academic papers is everyone within the academy, all of the students, other instructors, the institution. Perhaps a student will write an essay for a contest or submission into an academic journal. Perhaps students will begin a course of study that begins in their freshman year and culminates in a doctoral dissertation. So how do we gauge the effectiveness of academic writing? How will I, as the instructor, grade the paper? Well, first off, to be good writing, an essay must successfully meet the expectations of the reader. What expectations do readers have when reading essays? They would obviously expect some sort of structure. In the United States colleges, readers expect there to be a clear thesis statement declaring the purpose of the essay, and they would feel most comfortable if it was located somewhere in the introduction. The reader would expect there be an introduction to set up the essay, give necessary information to understand concepts, define terms, provide necessary background information. Additionally, the reader would like there to be a clear conclusion that wraps up the essay, synthesizes the arguments, provides support of the thesis, and perhaps provides a call to action or reiterates the importance of the argument made in the paper. In between the introduction and conclusion is an academic sandwich of compelling arguments supported with scholarly sources that are explored, analyzed, and applied to argue the thesis statement in a rhetorically sophisticated manner. A successful essay would be a work of art, well written, thoroughly edited, provide a well-supported, well-developed argument. How is this to be graded? And even if it's successful, how does everything I've spelled out work if the instructor simply doesn't like the subject of the essay? After all, isn't it subjective? How subjective is good writing? Let's talk about marijuana. Say a student submits a paper about the benefits of medicinal marijuana. I, as the instructor, absolutely hate drug use. Can I fail it outright? I don't like marijuana. Only hippies smoke it. It's an automatic F. I'm going to fail it. But what if it's well written, though? If it's well written, but I hate marijuana, can I still fail it? What if a student submits a paper about recreational marijuana use? This time I love smoking pot. I love it. The paper's really poorly written. I see that it's flawed, but, I love pot. I connect with my fellow pothead, and I give it an A. I connect with my fellow pothead, and I give it an A. Is that okay? The answer, again, is rather simple. As an educational institution, we should be objectively grading papers and score them based on their merit, not perspective. But perspective is hard to shake. However, a well-written paper, even if it's about a subject that the instructor abhors, should receive the same grade no matter where it's submitted, if it's here at this community college, or even if it's turned into Sacramento State. In an effort to ensure this happens, we utilize rubrics. A grading rubric specifies the different criteria instructors evaluate when grading papers to ensure fairness and allow students to understand the expectation for each essay. The standards are explicit and the grading objective. Here is the section of the rubric that details the specifications of an A paper. As you review the rubric, which you will do in the next assignment, understand that the categories are in hierarchical order. Ideas are the top criteria. This is the most important. If the paper doesn't have well thought out central ideas that demonstrate sophistication of thought and thoroughly address the prompt, it doesn't matter how good the support or style is, it will not be a successful essay. Additionally, the grammatical aspect of it is the least important standard. However, the description of mechanics in the F paper identify errors that impede the reader's understanding. Ideas can be fantastic, but if the reader doesn't understand the writing because of errors, again, the paper will not be successful. So, wrapping up, you know the definition of good writing. For the purposes of the class, it successfully meets the expectations of the reader. Now, when you answer this on the final, you'll need to provide an example of good writing in any genre you wish. Poetry, cookbook, mystery, novel, whatever. You need to apply this standard also to academic writing. What does it look like? Does it have structure? Is it driven by the thesis? Does it have academic sources, etc.? Now, this concept we will be returning to often over the course of the semester. Now, you're ready for the next assignment, which deals directly with the rubric.